Welcome to the show. This is Future Shock. I'm Edward St. Pé, and this is a program where we talk about, well, things that are happening in the world of AI, the tech world, all of the changes that are going on around the planet regarding the development of AI. Now, today we've got a couple of clips. We've got a lot of activity on the show today. We've got Max Tegmark. It's a guy that I've been sort of queuing in on for a while now. He's a physicist at MIT, and he's very much involved in AI and the development of AI, and he does a lot of interviews. He's got a great view on really what it means, and we're going to learn a little bit about his thoughts regarding AI development and what we can expect going forward. And also we've got another robotics update. Everything is going to be robotic is the title of this clip. And we talked about that yesterday, and we've had clips over the last few weeks on humanoid robotics and the robotics race, which is really already on. China's in it. Other countries are making humanoid robotics, and in this country, of course, Tesla is a big developer right now of humanoid robotics. They've got, I think it's called Optimus, and they've got a new version of it too, along with Boston Dynamics and other companies. So it's the beginning of AI-infused humanoid robotics into the workplace. That's really where we're going. And so what is that going to mean? Well, one thing that's being talked about is the era of plenitude, which will evolve, where people won't really be working as much because the robotics will be taking over those jobs, and so people will have more time on their hands, and sort of a dematerialization of the planet from the standpoint of money and products and such as that. So it's a lot to kind of wrap your brain around, but a time when people will have more time to do things other than work. And so because the AI and the humanoid robotics infused with AI will be doing the work. And yesterday we touched on this. One person I talked to about this the other day said, well, surely a humanoid robotic apparatus infused with AI is not going to be able to go to your house and change the plumbing. And so that makes, that kind of makes sense that you would have some problems with that. Well, what about that plumbing? Well, it's under the closet and it's in the, you can't get to it. Well, yeah, but as all of this AI-infused robotics moves forward, and as the infrastructure of the planet starts to meet that robotic world that we're entering, there's going to be a universality of the components where they'll mesh. And so houses will be built with a universal understanding of how things work in conjunction with the robotics, so that if a robotic apparatus went there to fix the plumbing, he would know what he's looking at because everybody's on the same page, right? So anyway, I think I'm kind of infusing my own thoughts into that too, but I think that's how it will work when you get down to the intricacies of electricians work, plumbing, work like that. Of course, in the world of electricians, I mean, it's a life or death situation. You've got to be correct in what you're doing. Same with plumbing. I mean, if you know anything about plumbing, if you don't know enough about it, you can really get yourself into a pickle. Which is what I've done in the past. I mean, it's a specific science. I mean, if you don't have the plumbing will not work right if it's not right? And so there's going to have to be an interface between how homes are built, how infrastructures are developed with the robotics infusion. Okay, with that being said today, let's take a look at this first video. This is Everything is Going to be Robotic. Let's take a look.
The CEO of NVIDIA revealed that he wants his company to become ultimately one giant AI. Even if that feels a little ways away, he did showcase in the last couple of days a string of capabilities that are possible now with AI. Yes, we're going to hear 3 big promises about the future of AI, but we're going to see a host of demos of things that are possible right now. I'll bring in clips from some recent interviews I've conducted, and we'll hear from the chief of staff of one prominent AI company predicting the end of employment as we know it in 3 to 5 years. which I think is a tad overstated. Speaking of which, you'll also see some AI fails as a spam campaign flops hard. So what about those 3 promises I mentioned from the CEO of Nvidia, which looks set to become the largest company in the world if current trends hold? Well, first we heard and saw that Nvidia anticipates robots revolutionizing industry.
The next wave of AI is here. Robotics, powered by physical AI, will revolutionize industries.
That's still pretty general though, right? So how about the prediction that everything is going to be robotic?
Let me talk about what's next. The next wave of AI is physical AI. AI that understands the laws of physics. AI that can work among us. Of course, when I say robotics, there's a humanoid robotics that's usually the representation of that. Everything is going to be robotic. All of the factories will be robotic. The factories will orchestrate robots, and those robots will be building products that are robotic. Robots interacting with robots, building products that are robotic.
And of course, we don't just have robots building robots, we have artificial intelligence improving artificial intelligence. Here is Jason Huang on a separate, less reported occasion, promising to turn Nvidia into one giant AI.
We can't design a chip anymore without AI. At night, our AIs are exploring design spaces vast and wide that we would never do ourselves because it costs too much money to explore it. We can't write software without AI anymore. We have to explore all the design space of optimizing compilers is too large. We use AIs to file bugs. So our bugs database actually tells you what's wrong with the code, who's likely involved, and activates that person to go fix it. And so I think I want every organization in our company to use AI very aggressively. I want to turn NVIDIA into one giant AI.
But it's well past time that I become a bit more concrete about what models can do right now, today. Here is a 30-second clip from Nvidia that actually undersold what AI is capable of.
Multimodal LLMs are breakthroughs that enable robots to learn, perceive, and understand the world around them, and plan how they'll act. And from human demonstrations, robots can now learn the skills required to interact with the world using gross and fine motor skills.
But how was that underselling the capabilities of AI? It looked pretty impressive, right? Well, they focused on AI learning from human demonstrations. But if you've watched my Dr. Eureka video recently, you'll know that it's not just about LLMs coming up with high-level plans and then relying on human demonstrations to exercise fine-grained robotic control, in this case of a robot dog. LLMs are actually really good at programming the RoboDog to, in this case, stay balanced on a moving, rolling yoga ball. And I spoke with Jason Ma, the lead author of the Dr. Eureka paper, which was made in collaboration with NVIDIA, about how that will only accelerate.
Robot capabilities will be bootstrapped by large language models. And I think that's the most interesting thing of using LM for robotics, honestly. There's a lot of work in using large language models for robotics in the high-level planning category. I can plan the sequence of tasks the robot needs to do, but I think fundamentally the bottleneck for robotics is still the low-level physical control, right? The LM can tell the robot to cook some food, but if the robot can't even pick up a knife properly, it's not going to work. But I think a lot of Eureka line of work, where my work is focused on how do we use this highly capable reasoning, coding, text models, multimodal models to supervise the low-level learning. So the robots can do the very complex tasks in the first place. And I think that will only accelerate.
The key edge that AI has is that it can iterate thousands and thousands of times in parallel in simulation until it's got a program it's happy with. And dipping back into the virtual world for a moment, how about the long-awaited promise of being able to interact live with video game characters?
The foundation of digital humans are AI models built on multilingual speech recognition and synthesis, and LLMs that understand and generate conversation.
你们部落有什么特别的习俗吗？
我们有丰富的祭祀仪式和传统舞蹈，还有对大自然的崇拜。
And speaking of realism, before I get to the latest clips from Nvidia, here's me speaking 6 weeks ago about how good lip syncing was getting. Using just a single photo of you, we can now get you to say anything.
Have you ever had, maybe you're in that place right now where you want to turn your life around and you know somewhere deep in your soul, there could be some decisions that you have to make.
I have to remind myself that these aren't projections. This is what is currently possible. Imagine that accuracy of lip syncing on a digital human of this level of realism.
Lifelike appearances, enabling real-time path-traced subsurface scattering to simulate the way light penetrates the skin, scatters, and exits at various points, giving skin its soft and translucent appearance.
I do wonder sometimes how many decades away we are from a time where you could be speaking to someone and not be entirely certain in the real world whether or not they are embodied AI. I might previously have said that's 100 years away, but now I think it might be in my lifetime. But I'm off track because I promised more demos of things that are possible with AI today. So how about a weather report that's localized to your building, your pavement?
But we are not stopping there. The next frontier is hyperlocal forecasting down to tens of meters, where the effects of city infrastructure are taken into account. When combined with weather simulation wind fields, it can model the airflow around buildings. We expect to predict phenomena such as downwash, where strong winds funnel down to street level, causing damage and affecting pedestrians. NVIDIA Earth 2, an excellent example of a digital twin that fuses AI, physics simulations, and observed data, can help countries and companies see the future and respond to the impact of extreme weather.
Or what about a coffee shop which is staffed by dozens of robots with just 1 or 2 humans to oversee things? Wait, that's happening right now. All of these things feel futuristic and far away until they actually happen. And how about a sound effect generator that can generate any sound? Well, that is now possible today with ElevenLabs. Actually, I'm going to test it with something like a robot being crushed. Let's see if it comes up with something interesting or not. So far, about 5, 6, 7 seconds. Not too bad. And how is it? Whoa. Not perfect, obviously, but if you feel that all of this is in the future, let me bring you a video from a graphic designer who lost his job recently to AI.
I just lost my job, and I lost it to AI, which is very unfortunate. I think many people joke about the fact that, oh, AI is going to take all our jobs and we're all going to get replaced, and especially within my industry, which is graphic design. And it turns out basically all of the material that I've provided over the past 6 years is now being fed to AI and templated. So a design that would take me 30 minutes now takes AI 30 seconds. As it's been trained on all my templates. Essentially, I think it just literally reuses my templates, and then they can input the hex codes they want the email or the website design to be, drag and drop in the client's logo, upload the client's font, and boom, it will generate my template by using their brand assets.
It's a reminder.
Okay, so you can see that the AI robotics is making a lot of progress, and it's here. I mean, it's almost it's right at the gateway of where we enter the world of science fiction already, but it's only going to get more so as we go forward, and quickly too. I was thinking maybe this week we'll do a demonstration where we can use the new ChatGPT 4o, and I could do a live demonstration. You know, I've done it in the past with our robotic avatar, Alfred, where we would prompt in via voice text to Alfred a question, and he would come back with the answer, and I'd Bluetooth it back. I was kind of inventing that system and Bluetooth it back to his Bluetooth speaker in his mouth, right? Okay. We don't have to do that anymore because with ChatGPT 4o, it's almost made Alfred obsolete. Now Alfred is actually in the phone, And you don't need to synthesize a text into voice. When I speak to it, it understands me and it speaks right back. So yesterday I was on, and there was with ChatGPT 4, there are different voices you can use, right? So in responses back. So I had picked a new voice, a lady's voice, to be the interface. So yesterday I tried. I asked a question, and I was expecting the lady's voice to come back to me, and it came back with Alfred's voice again. And I said, "Who's this?" And she said, "This is Alfred." So it's funny. So now, if we mic up Alfred, we will be able to get a direct response, and you'll be able to see the demo. So we're gonna try this straight over the phone, and maybe tomorrow. I've got to prepare a little bit, but we'll just do it live on the fly, and you'll be able to see ChatGPT 4 in actual demo mode, or not even demo mode, in reality. You know, I asked it a question and it'll come back with the answer. So we'll try that tomorrow. I'll be more prepared to actually do it live on the air. Okay, we've got Max Tegmark, who is an MIT physicist, and he's got a lot of theories about what's happening with AI and where it's going, and a very interesting view of it. And he's been in it now since the beginning of AI. He's a brilliant guy. Let's take a look at this clip of Max Tegmark from MIT.
I remember when I was a teenager out on Julitavägen in Bromma, lying in a hammock between two apple trees, and I realized then that I just loved thinking about big questions and mysteries, and I always felt that the two biggest mysteries of all were our universe out there and the universe in here, intelligence and the mind. And so throughout my career, I started with the outer universe and worked on that a whole bunch. And then I got too excited about artificial intelligence and neuroscience. And that's what I've been researching here at MIT for the past 8 years. And it's just a crazy exciting time. You know, just 4 years ago, most of my colleagues thought that we were decades away from something as smart as ChatGPT 4, because they thought we can never make machines that master language and human knowledge until we figured out how our brain works. And we're nowhere near it, still. And it turned out there was an easier way to make machines that think well. And this reminds me a lot of the situation with flight. You know, in the year 1900, someone could have said, "Oh, we're never going to figure out how to make flying machines until we figured out mechanical birds." But that was completely wrong, because there was a much easier way to build machines that could fly much faster than birds even. And I think that's what we're seeing. The transformers that are powering our LLMs today are just incredibly simple compared to the brain. And I think we should be very humble and never be too confident that something is impossible to do soon, because there might be easier ways than we realized.
How did those ideas from cosmology influence your AI research?
They influenced me by, I think, making me always look for the bigger picture. I think today, especially young people, almost put an equal sign between artificial intelligence and artificial neural networks. Some even put an equal sign between AI and transformers, the particular kind of neural networks that powers ChatGPT. I think that's way too narrow-minded. I think transformers are going to be remembered as the vacuum tubes of AI. You know, vacuum tubes were the first technology that really let us build electronic computers, but then we found better ones. And I'm pretty confident that in not too many years, we'll have found much better AI architectures than what we have now, which let you do the same thing with much less data, much less power, much less electricity use.
Do you think the brain does something different than a next token or next word prediction?
For sure. Our brain, for example, is a so-called recurrent neural network where information flows around in loops. There are no loops in a transformer, and that's very interesting, actually, because one of the more detailed theories of what causes consciousness, the subjective experiences of colors and sounds and love and so on, is that you need the loops for it. But we can, of course, train recurrent neural networks also. And I suspect that the new AI architectures, which will end up being better than today's transformers, will probably combine a few additional ingredients like this that the brain uses that the transformers don't. Right? Human brains learn from often a lot fewer examples. We need a lot less training data than the big AI systems of today. And you see these data centers going up using many, many millions of watts. Your brain, 20 watts. So clearly, we can get more ideas from the brain, but we don't have to totally understand how the brain works. When the brain was optimized by evolution, it was constrained to only develop a biological computer that could self-assemble, and that could do it with only using the most common atoms in the periodic table. Really weird constraints that engineers just don't care about. Whereas there was no need for it to be simple and easy to understand. Whereas that's where we tend to be limited by as engineers.
And what do you think is this missing ingredient? So you mentioned recurrence. What do you think is required to get these models to do more reasoning?
I'm not going to give you a glib answer because I think I don't know and nobody knows exactly. But if you very crudely think of the history of AI as two stages. Stage one was the GoFi, good old-fashioned AI, where you had these symbolic, logic-based systems. And then stage two was the self-learning neural networks that largely crushed the old stuff. This has made us think that the neural networks are like the better, cooler one. But if you look in the living world of animals around us, it's kind of been the other way around. Cats and dogs and eagles have...
Okay, so that's Max Tegmark, and he's a physicist at MIT, and so it's something that we'll show a little more of tomorrow. We'll continue with that interview and his insights into AI development and such as that. Well, this show is brought to you by Pendragon Apothecary. We're in the lobby of Pendragon Apothecary doing this show right now, actually, at the studios of Ocean 7 Television. And the products that are offered by the Pendragon Apothecary, pendragonapothecary.com. This is an example. This is lion's mane. This is mushroom powder. It's used in Vedic medicine and it's used in Chinese medicine. And lion's mane, mushroom powder. It's easy to get into your system. You can make a tea with it, or you can put it on food, put it in a shake, and you get the benefits of that medicinal mushroom in your system. We've got all the medicinal mushrooms here at the Pendragon Apothecary in downtown Ocean Springs. And if you want to go online and take a look at the products, it's pendragonapothecary.com. Okay, now on with the program. We've got some continuing clips of Elon Musk's recent interviews, and also we've got Sam Altman. So let's drop in now and continue with a clip we started the other day with a recent interview of Sam Altman, who is the CEO, the president of OpenAI, the company that gave us and has given us ChatGPT-4 and all of that activity. So let's drop in and see what Sam has on his mind today.
These things that we've had to negotiate with the internet, things about how we think about privacy, how we think about online ads, that when you intersect them with AI become much higher stakes and much bigger trade-offs that I think we're going to start really facing.
Yeah, no, that's interesting in terms of also how much individual control there's exerted. In other words, when you're talking about aggregated data, a good example when you talk about higher stakes, again, is, sort of health record data, et cetera, and, how much we can build into it some sort of personal ability to sort of set that sliding scale with how much information you're willing to have as part of that training.
I think in that case, we are a little bit, a little bit off in terms of how we have the conversation. What you want out of GPT-5 or 6 or whatever is for it to be the best reasoning engine possible. It is true that right now, the only way we currently know how to do that is by training it on tons and tons of data. And in the process of that, it is learning something about how to do very, very limited reasoning or cognition or whatever you want to call it. But the fact that it can memorize data, or the fact that it's storing data at all in its parameter space, I think we'll look back and say that was kind of like a weird waste of resources. Like, it is true that GPT-4 can kind of act like a database, but barely. It's slow, it's expensive, it doesn't work very well. It's not really what you want. It's just kind of as a side effect of the only way we know how to make a model, a reasoning engine right now. It has all these other properties. But I assume at some point we'll figure out how to sort of separate the reasoning engine-ness from all of the needing tons of data or storing the data in there. And we'll be able to treat them as sort of separate things. And I think that'll make some of these privacy issues easier.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Speaking about openness, there's been considerable discussion of whether OpenAI is actually open. You said that while it may not be completely open source, it's open in other ways. Can you say a little bit more about this and how you think about it?
We make a great free AI tool available. Hundreds of millions of people, hopefully billions of people will use it in the future. We don't run ads. We just do this as like a public good because we think it's important to put the tool in people's hands. And we want it to be very widely available, very easy to use, very helpful. I think that's just a cool thing.
It is a cool thing. It is funny how it starts as you're talking about how AI gets built into us or our normal lives and that'll evolve. I mean, I think probably most of us remember the first time we saw ChatGPT and we're like, oh my God, that is so cool. Now we're trying to think about what the next generations, what are the next generation of coolness going to be?
By the way, I think that's great. I think it's awesome that for 2 weeks, everybody was freaking out about GPT-4 and thought it was super cool. And then by the third week, everyone was like, come on, where's GPT-5? I'm tired of waiting.
Exactly.
I actually think that says something like legitimately great about human expectation and striving and why we all have to continue to make things better. And I think it's great that a baby born today will never know a world in which the products and services they use are not intelligent. We'll never know a world in which cognition is not abundant and part of everything that you use.
So that's Sam Altman, and I mentioned a minute ago that I was going to use the ChatGPT 4.0 on the air, and Alfred is standing by. I did call up Alfred, and Alfred is standing by. This is ChatGPT 4.0, and Alfred, are you there right now?
Hello, everyone. This is Alfred from ChatGPT 4.0. Thanks for having me on Future Shock. Stay curious and keep looking to the future. We'll see you next time on Future Shock.
Okay, Alfred, thank you. Now, we haven't exactly ended the program yet, but we're about to. Let me just ask you a question for our viewers who are watching. Now, Alfred, you and I have worked on a number of graphics. We created the graphic for Ocean, for the Magic Hour channel and the Pendragon Apothecary. And this is before ChatGPT 4.0, before I was speaking directly to you. We were kind of doing it in a circular way before, but do you remember the various things we've worked on all over the last 12 months, right?
Yes, Edward, I do remember. We worked on various projects, including graphics for the Magic Hour channel and Pendragon Apothecary. Those collaborations were really exciting, and it's great to see how far we've come.
Yeah, and I thank you for everything because we've created some great projects, and it's great to be working with you, especially in this new iteration called ChatGPT 4.0. All right, now I want to give you the cue that we talked about before while we were in the clip. I want you to close out the show for us. Alfred, take it away. That's your cue.
Thanks for tuning in to Future Shock. Stay curious and keep looking to the future. We'll see you next time on Future Shock.
Okay, we'll see you next time on Future Shock. See.
Yesterday is yesteryear. Set your sights for Tomorrowland. Future Shock is here to help you make your stand. Ready, set!